All right, we're going.
Okay, I will call this public hearing to order. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So for the procedure of public hearing, we'll have the call and then we'll do the presentations one at a time. We'll take in public comment after each of the presentations. And we'll proceed that way. So at this point, Roxanne, would you please call the do the call of the meeting?
The Ledgertown Council will conduct a virtual video conference public hearing on Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. to receive comments and recommendations regarding the proposed 1. Amendments to Ordinance 300-009, an ordinance establishing citations for zoning violations. 2. Amendments to Ordinance number 300-022, an ordinance establishing an agricultural commission for the town of Ledyard. And 3, it's a new ordinance, and it's an ordinance regarding voting district boundaries. Please join the video conference meeting from your computer, tablet, or smartphone. And the link is in the legal notice, or by audio in the telephone number and passcode there. At this hearing, interested persons may appear and be heard, and written communications will be accepted at towncouncil@ledyardct.org. Dated at Ledyard, Connecticut, this 10th day of February, 2022. For the Ledgertown Council, Kevin J. Dombrowski, Chairman. It was published in the New London Day on Monday, February 14th, 2022.
Thank you. At this point, I'll open the presentation for ordinance number 1.
Okay, so the first ordinance we're going to look at is ordinance number 300-309, I believe, 300-009. This is an ordinance establishing, and we're proposing a change to the title of the ordinance, an ordinance establishing procedures for citations for zoning violations. There's one simple change, which is to omit the line that says the zoning official will obtain the approval by vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission for each citation to be issued. The proposed change is to strike that and allow the zoning official to issue citations without a vote from the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have received three pieces of correspondence on this, one from Eric Treister, an email opposing the deletion of that statement. We've received an email communication from our land use director, Juliet Hodge, arguing to strike it and allow the zoning official to not have to secure a vote of the commission. And also a correspondence from Mr. Capon agreeing with our land use director that we should delete that statement and allow the zoning official to do his or her job without the vote of the commission. Mr. Capon pointed out in his email that, let me open this up for just a second. I beg your patience. I'm trying to stay organized with all the information. He says, I support removing the requirement that we have to vote on every citation. We no more want to vote on every citation for a violation of zoning reg than the town council wants to vote on every citation for a violation of a town ordinance. So those are the three pieces of communication. And I guess at this point, we can open it up for any further comment.
At this point, are there anybody who would like to make any comments against the first ordinance for the zoning violations?
Kevin, are you opening up to the public at this time?
I am, Eric.
Okay, thank you. The reason I submitted
could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Eric Treister, 10 Huntington Way. The reason I submitted that exhibit is because I was the author of the citation ordinance when it was originally adopted by the town. And at the time, I was reluctant to write the ordinance because I believed then and I believe today that the enabling statute for it is poorly worded. And in order to have the ordinance dovetail with the statute, the ordinance is also complicated and convoluted and in my opinion, dangerous. And so I believe that a little bit of extraordinary caution would be appropriate. I remember many years ago when Joe Larkin was the CEO for, I believe it was Stonington, he issued a zoning citation against somebody who had a pink child's playhouse. And the fine went up to over $50,000 and a lot of negative press. And I remember taking that into consideration when I wrote the citation ordinance. So I don't have that. I don't have as much of that concern today as I did then. We've got our ZEO and our town planner are conscientious and much more talented, and I don't have any qualms. But back then I did. So I believe then that it would be appropriate to have a confirmation or a consensus before the ZEO issues a powerful zoning citation. A zoning citation means that eventually the town's going to get the property if the property does not come into compliance. It's an incredibly powerful tool, and it's very difficult to determine when it should be used and when it should not be used. So those are the reasons why I put that sentence in originally, and why I urged that there be some sort of consensus, either by the town planner or the town attorney or P&Z. It doesn't matter who it is. Just a confirmation that it's the right decision. So that's it. It's not a, it's not earth shaking. It's just ounce of caution's worth a pound of cure type of thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Anyone else like to make comment? Mr. Terry. You're on mute, Mike.
Hi, first I'd like to apologize for our Director of Land Use. She had a conflict, couldn't be here tonight, but did provide written testimony. And in her second paragraph, she's quite clear, as she's been going through our regs and ordinances, trying to deconflict them, she found a conflict between this ordinance and section 15.1 of our zoning regulations. So if you go back to when the ordinance was first issued and what the regulation said at the time, the change that was made in 2012, that change added the zoning official will obtain approval by vote of the commission for each zoning citation to be issued. The paragraph before that said, in the event the zoning official and the commission differ with regards to zoning, the commission reserves the right by a majority vote to identify violations and direct the zoning official to pursue enforcement. I agree with Mr. Treaster. Those were different times in that ordinance, with the caveat that you needed permission, and the words in the zoning regulations were written based on personalities, not sound land use policy. In 2018, when we reissued the zoning regulations, we took the option for the zoning official or the zoning commission to be the enforcement agent. It was felt, with some legal backing from our attorney and the seminars that we attend, that having two parties trying to regulate the same thing, trying to be the same enforcement agent, was difficult at best and potentially hazardous to the town. I am currently the zoning enforcement officer, duly appointed in accordance with the regulations and the mayor. And I take that seriously. We have many tools at our disposal, and until you have a non-compliant violator, you never get to cease and desist or zoning citation. We start out with, hi, my name is Mike Cherry. I'm the zoning enforcement officer. It appears that you may have a zoning violation that you're unaware of, and I ask for your voluntary compliance with the regulations. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us and come in. And I find personally that 75 to 80% of our violators are unaware they violated anything. There are always going to be those 1 in every 5 years, 1 in every 10 years that end up being more difficult, and you end up in court. And I will tell you, ending up in court is not a over the weekend thing. It takes years to get to the point where we've asked an attorney to take somebody to court, represent us, and correct zoning violation. I've been involved with a couple since my term on planning and zoning, and we've written a couple of letters, and we're pursuing some now since I've been zoning enforcement officer. It's not something that happens very often, and it's always with great care. So I would agree with our director of land use. We have a system in place. It serves us well, and we ought to avoid the possibility where you ask dad to do something, dad says, no, I don't think I want to, or dad says he wants to, and mom says no. We don't need that. We have a duly appointed official. I'm not going to be in this chair forever, but those that follow on, once again, are professionals. They're certified, they know what they're doing, and we have a good system, a good director of land use, and an excellent land use attorney. We don't need this line in our ordinance anymore. We need to take it out and deconflict the zoning regulations and the ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to make any comments on the zoning? Mr. Capon.
Thank you. I needed to unmute. Tony Capon, Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Cherry and Ms. Hodge have summarized the staff position, so I will be brief. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously opposes voting on zoning violation citations, as I indicated in my email to Mr. Dombrowski. Mr. Cherry's position is called the zoning enforcement officer for a reason. He's responsible for enforcement. The role of the commission in enforcement is oversight. Making specific enforcement decisions is not our role. And given the changes that were made in 2018, we have no interest in doing so. I said I would be brief. That concludes my comments. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I hope all of you have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment on this? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next ordinance. Andra?
Okay. The next one is ordinance 300-022, ordinance establishing an agricultural commission for the town of Ledyard. So, one second. Okay. Just as a point of interest and reference, oh shoot, why can't I scroll on this? I can't get it to, well, what I was going to highlight is that a couple of years ago, when the council voted to reorder and renumber all of the ordinances, one of the things we did was include a history as a footnote. It's kind of like a permanent track change. So it's pretty handy that that is there. And gracious, I'm having a little bit of a, and I can't get it to scroll up so I can even read the change. I beg your patience for 1 minute.
Which change you looking for, Andra? I have it open.
Well, in the draft change of the Ag Commission ordinance, it's the addition that they would like to serve as liaisons to the town. I just wanted to read the history too, so people understood. What am I missing? Oh, this is frustrating. I apologize. Oh dear.
Would you like me to read the addition, Andra?
Well, the addition, I would actually like the history read as well, just so people understand when the Ag
Well,
Commission was created. and why.
I can do that. So in 2017, the Agricultural Commission was established to enable the town ledger to participate in joint partnership programs available through the Connecticut Department of Agriculture Farmland Preservation Program and a Community Farms Preservation Program, and to obtain funding from the state, the Connecticut Farmland Trust, and other sources to purchase the development rights of farmland. Thank you, Roxanne. For future preservations. And then in 2019, we updated it again to section 4 to add language regarding member attendance relative to considered resigned. This was something that was done to most all of the ordinances establishing commissions and boards in the 2019 when we did the update to all the ordinances and change the numbering sequences. And of course, you can see at what the 21, this new update is to act as the general resource and advocate for alleged farmers in the agricultural community, and specifically function as a liaison between town government and alleged farmers as the town of farmers adjust to adopt the changing environment of modern farming.
Right.
I
So
can,
that change is to, so they would like to be the official liaison between our farming community and the town council. That's what the proposed addition is about.
okay, is that it? Anybody like to, anybody have any comments? I don't see. Does anybody have, I don't see anybody have their hand up. So, no additional comments. So one more call. Comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I think I was reading the council agenda for the meeting tonight, and I think that's where Andres saw the history of
No,
the
the history,
commission.
I had it on the screen.
You had it up?
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. Now the history is included at the end of the ordinance.
right.
Is it?
We're doing
Okay.
that.
All
Yeah,
right.
It's there. Mhm.
Okay. I thought
Thank you,
there
Bill.
wasn't there a whole thing about how they had reached out to the farmers and collected data and they want to continue their work?
Yeah. So if I might, because I might add is that, because I worked with the Agriculture Commission when I was the liaison in getting this language added in. The agricultural, and Bruce, please step in if you have anything to add. But they had done a lot of the work that the ordinance had originally called out of what their roles and responsibilities were.
Right.
There's still, of course, the ongoing maintenance of keeping the lists up to date and working with the farmers and things like that. But in this case here, the Agricultural Commission was looking for some additional roles and responsibilities that they wanted to take on, which they felt that they would be well suited. And I agree to be kind of the liaison between the town and the farmers to help them work through regulations, ordinances, who to contact, who to talk to. So they're willing to take on that additional role to guide the farmers through basically through government. That sound about right? Bruce?
Yes, it does. It's Bruce Gartzka here at 10 Pleasant View, Ledger.
Thank you. Go
If I
ahead, Mike.
could, Kevin.
Go ahead.
You know, I've referred people to Bruce numerous times where they call the zoning office and they go, hi, I want to start my farm and I don't know where to go. I don't know what funding's available. I don't understand the Connecticut laws. Who do I call? What do I do? I give them two numbers, Joan Nichols and Bruce Gartzka, because our agricultural commission is ideally suited not just to point them in the right direction, but then to mentor them through the process and help ensure that they're successful. So I strongly support adding more responsibilities to this group that holds the knowledge and is willing to disperse it and help us out.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, Andra, the last ordinance?
Sure. So the last one is the ordinance on voting district boundaries. So this is ordinance 100 dash, it needs its number. So this is a brand new ordinance. And let me find my notes. Okay, so So voting district lines are redrawn every 10 years after the US Census. Our last census was completed in 2020. The federal government stipulates that districts must have nearly equal populations and must not discriminate on the basis of race or ethnicity. In accordance with Chapter 2, Section 8 of our town charter, voting districts shall not be increased or decreased except by an ordinance of the town council. Therefore, the proposed ordinance was written to comply with the charter, and the language was crafted so that voting districts shall be in conformance with the lines of the congressional districts. That's what our charter requires. So with the lines of congressional districts, Senate districts, or assembly districts as established by law, and would not need to be amended each time voting districts are changed. So for this particular ordinance, the most recent change is almost a side issue. This is really going forward to establish that per our charter, our voting districts shall comply with, where's the language? Voting districts shall be in conformance with the lines of our congressional districts. Also, I reached out to one of our registrars and asked her how our residents will be notified if their district is going to, their voting district is going to change, and they're still working that out.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay, up, Mr. Hurd.
Jacob has his hand up.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. Little technology failure. Jacob Hurd, 6 Nugget Hill Drive on the proposed new ordinance regarding the voting district boundaries. I recommend that Section 2 cite the map specifically labeled State House of Representatives Redistricting Plan 2021 Ledyard House Districts. That was published by the General Assembly's Reapportionment Commission on November 19th, 2021. And that map should be required to be made accessible on the town's website too. The rest of the section could then number the voting districts to correspond with those new House districts. District 3 for 139, District 2 for 45, and so on. By specifying that map and aligning the districts with the House districts and requiring that map to be accessible, the town can efficiently communicate the district lines and any resident can readily figure out what district they're in. This also saves you all the words that are in the Stonington version. Also, I recommend Section 3 require a listing of voting districts by street and designated polling places be made available on the town website. They may already be there, but the requirement does not appear to be formalized anywhere. And the registrars retain responsibility for assigning polling places, but ensuring that residents can easily figure out what district they're in and knowing where their polling place will be very helpful to all. And since the previous version of this ordinance, the one required following 2011 redistricting, does not appear to be available for reference, we should take this once in a decade opportunity to formally and clearly communicate these materials to our residents. Having the map, the list of districts by street, and the polling place locations made easily accessible on the site will help any voter figure out where they're voting and who they're voting for with ease. It'll also keep the ordinance simple and easy for voters to understand. I have provided my comments here in writing via email to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Mr. Ryan.
So as I read through the proposed ordinance and against our charter, it seems to create a disconnect. And this is where I see the disconnect. So our charter, which is not being revised, requires that we have a minimum of 2 voting districts. The ordinance as proposed just says that we're aligning ourselves with the state congressional districts as they're redrawn in an organic manner. So on the off chance that at some point in the future, somehow, Ledyard becomes 1 voting district on the state line, at the state level, which, I'm not sure I foresee that ever happening, but if it were to be the case, we would have an issue with our charter as well and would have to revise our charter. So I'm not sure how we handle that other than, revising the charter when and if that happens, but just wanted to make people aware of that disconnect that does exist.
So I will say that in years past, we were 1 assembly district. We used to be 100% of the town was in the 42nd. the way the charter, when the Charter Revision Commission chose to use no less than two, is that we had divided up District 1 and District 2 between what is Ledyard to the east and Gales Ferry, which is to the west. So the town would literally split in two, where there were two districts, and with Gales Ferry and Ledyard being two separate districts. But still comported, the overall, it's still comported within the 42nd congressional district, the assembly district, I should say.
Right, but we have, the way the charter is written, it's no less than two districts.
And that's the reason why it was no less than two, is that even if we were one assembly district in the state of Connecticut, we still had two districts or two polling places, one in Gales Ferry and one in Ledyard.
Okay. That verbiage escaped me in terms of how that was interpreted.
Right. And the only reason I recognize that is I was on the last Charter Revision Commission, and that was the part of the discussion.
So, I'm not sure if that's clear to everybody, because clearly it was not clear to me. But so the way I understand that is what you're saying, it's voting districts versus state congressional districts.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none. At this point, I will adjourn this public hearing. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you in 4 minutes.
Yeah, or less.